You think we should be more like Europe? That would be the dumbest thing ever. How many big tech companies does Europe have, by the way?
None.
Zero. So we want to take this, we got like 7 humongous tech companies that have done amazing things. What's Europe want to do? Oh, we can't create them because we got layer of bureaucracy on top of bureaucracy. Our GDP is like flat while America's is growing like crazy. So let's go shake down the American tech industry. If you got a new app, you know where you go? So you go to the United States or Dubai. You don't go to Europe because you can't, there's so much regulation, you can't do it. It's not just the Digital Marketing Act. It's also the Digital Services Act. Right. So they get into the censorship thing.
I now would recognize the chairman of the full committee.
Mr. Singham, the ranking member said the United States needs to be more like Europe. Do you agree with that?
No, I think Mr.
That would be the dumbest thing ever. How about you, Mr. Portuguese? You think we should be more like Europe?
No, I don't. We should.
Wasn't it about like 20 years ago, the GDP in the European Union, which was like 400-some million people, and the GDP in the United States was like 300-some million people, was roughly the same, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
what's it today?
correct.
What's it today?
It's a 1/3 higher in the...
And that's even accounting for Brexit, right?
Right.
Yeah, and in the UK, it's actually 40% lower in the UK.
You got a member of Congress saying we should be more like Europe. That may be one of the craziest things I've ever heard. What do you think, Mr. Auer? Should we be more like Europe?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, not just overall, but with a digital marketing act that we're gonna. How many big tech companies does Europe have, by the way?
None.
Zero. So we want to take this, we got like 7 humongous tech companies that have done amazing things, and they're not perfect. I went after them before that, for goodness sake. They shadow banned me, we found out a few years ago, so I went after them. They're not perfect, but they're amazing. And what's Europe want to do? Oh, we can't create them because we got layer of bureaucracy on top of bureaucracy. Our GDP is like flat while America's is growing like crazy. So let's go shake down the American tech industry. Is that right, Mr.? I see you shaking your head, Mr. Portuguese. Is that right?
The main thing about competition is that we need dynamic competition, and Europe is frozen into a static competition where we preserve the status quo. And so what the core of the competitive process is competition on the merit, where there's disruptions, technological innovations. It's not about protecting the current incumbents and
choice and competition to get growth and good things for consumers. The chairman makes this point better than anyone, but when we were over there this summer in Europe, we met with the app creators in Europe, and they told us, they said, you know what? If you got a new app, you know where you go? You don't go to Europe, you go to the United States, or frankly, I was surprised. They say you go to the United States or Dubai. You don't go to Europe, because you can't, there's so much regulation, you can't do it. And it's even scarier, because it's not just the Digital Marketing Act. It's also the Digital Services Act. Right. So they get into the censorship thing. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's why Democrats want us to be more like Europe, so they can censor what Americans are saying, but I don't want that. Yeah. And it's just a matter of time before it happens, because we had, it was the irony how the good Lord works. It was amazing. We had Nigel Farage testifying, and that very week, the day before he came, Graham Linehan, a comedian, issues a tweet while he's in Arizona. So an Irish citizen does a tweet in Arizona, flies to Heathrow, and gets arrested for what he tweeted here. And he's not even a citizen of the UK. That's the online service, but it's the same as the Digital Services Act.
It's part of the same package. The Digital Services Act is one leg, the DMA is the other leg, yep. And more generally, there's the Cloud Act, and there's also the EU AI Act, which is coming. So it's part of what they call legislative package. It's not one regulation or the other. Those comes by packages of regulations.
So such a deal, and I know Mr. Singh and Mr. Auer want to get in here, but it's such a deal. We can censor American speech, censor European speech, censor American speech, and they don't do what we want on the Senate. We can shake them down and get a ton of money under the DMA. Wow, such a deal. Yeah. And we got members on the other side saying, we should do that. We should embrace that. Mr.
Yeah,
Singh,
I was just going to say, with respect to Europe, I think, you know, it's not working that well over there, so we certainly don't want it over here. But I mean, it's very clear, if you look at the data in the last 25 years, the European economies, particularly Western European economies, the Central Eastern Europeans are doing slightly better, have absolutely stagnated. In fact, in many cases, some of the member states, Germany, for example, have been in a contraction phase. I mean, not just GDP per capita going down, but overall GDP going down. And this is why it is so troubling for European citizens, because because their prospects, their growth prospects are looking extremely bad at the moment. And this is something they've done to themselves. This is not something that's been imposed from without. It's the regulatory approach of the Europeans, of which the DMA and the DSA are examples, that have led to this crisis in Europe.
I'm going to give Mr. Auer the last 30 seconds.
I think America has one superpower above all. It's the faith in free markets. And in our space, that leads to evidence-based antitrust that tries to ensure that consumers get the best deal and that puts aside the idiosyncratic preferences of enforcement and looks at the data coldly and dispassionately.
Europeans recognize their over-regulations. As Chairman Fitzgerald mentioned, we have the Draghi report. If you read the Draghi report in Europe, it says like, we killed innovation in Europe by European regulations. So Europeans themselves recognize they're over-regulated. That's why now they posed the EU AI Act. They know they're killing the regulation. So it's not like there's no diagnosis. The diagnosis is here. So why would you emulate and copy something that they themselves recognize as broken?
Great question. Great question.
My work as professor and founding director of the GW Competition Innovation Lab focus on one thing: promoting innovation for the benefits of consumers. I'm here to deliver a message of urgency. Congress must act to curb DMA-inspired regulations that are multiplying all around the world. These proposals are disproportionately targeting US tech companies and insulate local monopolies. But there are things that the administrations and the Congress can do to stop their spread. Before I turn to what Congress can do, including Chairman Fitzgerald, your well-crafted proposals, let me first talk about why the DMA is a problem. Despite the benefits of the DMA, such as enhanced interoperability and adjustments to the App Store rules, which could be achieved through way less harmful means, these are the reasons why the DMA is a problem. First, the DMA wrongly targets US tech companies. Now, every single gatekeeper designated in the DMA is a US company. This is not an accident. It's by design. Two, the DMA is anti-innovation. The DMA forces and focuses on hypothetical risks rather than actual harm, and the effect is to deter from innovating. Three, the DMA harm consumers. For example, European consumers cannot access Google Maps in their search results, and they don't have Apple Intelligence in their, as AI features in their iPhones. This is an effect of the DMA. So despite these problems, the DMA is spreading globally. South Korea, Brazil, Australia, Japan, and other jurisdictions are considering DMA-inspired regulations. I regularly engage with those regulators in these countries. If they move forward, that will cement Europe's approach at the expense of US enterprises. So the US can avert this trend through what I call sharp power, a proactive strategy to advance pro-innovation regulations worldwide. This approach requires deliberate actions from Congress and the administrations to reassert tech leadership by reinvesting its thought leaderships on consumer welfare globally, and as well as integrating national security concerns in competition enforcement. So now I want to outline 4 ways US can curb DMA-inspired regulations. First, provisions akin to Chairman Fitzgerald HR 4278 to protect US companies from Foreign Regulatory Taxation Act will be a strong step forward. This bill will empower US to impose reciprocal tariffs or sanctions on jurisdictions that implement DMA-like rules. This will help level the global level playing field and protect American innovations. Second, Congress should enact legislation that will allow the government to take retaliatory measures against discriminatory foreign regulations. This could be accomplished through amendments of the International Trade Act of 1974, which will strengthen the US Trade Representative Authority to address unfair trade practices in digital markets. Third, Congress should initiate an investigation into the DMA's effect globally. Investigations will help assess the compliance costs, which are assessed to be perhaps over $1 billion per year annually. This investigation could help measure the impact of the DMA and DMA-like regulations on consumer experiences and any benefit, if any at all. So this information will bolster efforts to identify an alternative path for government considering competition legislation. And fourth, and finally, Congress and the administration should prioritize digital diplomacy. Europeans have digital sovereignty. We should prioritize digital diplomacy to influence foreign competition policies. This will entail establishing dedicated task force within the State Department and the US Trade Representative's Office to engage bilaterally and multilaterally with allied nations. Through technical assistance, competition dialogues, the US can promote alternatives to the DMA. For instance, diplomatic efforts could encourage the US-style effect-based analysis, which focuses on actual harm and consumer benefits instead of hypothetical risks. So these can help counter the EU influence and promote global standards that are truly pro-competition and pro-innovation. I encourage the US to take advantage of this window of opportunity to counter the spread of the DMA and champion a better approach.